going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Hope you're doing awesome. Thank you so much for hopping on in today. I know it's a little late in the afternoon, and for some of y'all are either coming from or going to some sort of event, service, or whatnot. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate the next hour and 15 minutes that you're going to give me here. And also, I want to look in the future, and I want to paint this picture of where your future self is sitting here this time next year, literally going through your checklist of all of the goals and all of the things that you planned out for yourself. And you're looking back and you're like, wow, dude, damn, I actually checked everything off, right? Because some of y'all are sitting around here today, yesterday, as we lead up towards the end of the year, and we're going through all of the things that we told ourselves we were going to do. And we're wondering what happened that we fell off. What happened that throughout the process of the year we came in, with all these amazing goals, and somewhere along the way we did something happened, something slipped to where we found ourselves here and we're not necessarily checking off all the boxes. And to me, this was a question that I went back all the way through my calendar since the beginning of the year, and I realized that throughout the year there were a couple big fluctuations within my calendar. By the way, there's a lot of new faces here, so thank you guys for popping on in here. Why don't you drop on in the chat real quick, introduce yourself, city and state, and if it's your first time on something like this with me, then let me know and say what's up. Would love to see you. Say hello. It's awesome. Usually over the first couple of minutes, there's a few more people who will hop on in. So it'd be cool for those people to come back as well and say what's up. What's up, Vernita Davis? Hey, that's a 90K finisher right there. She did the last one with us. That was awesome. Great to see you. Wow, looks like you're out there doing that workout. Get it in. That's what's up. We're in the middle of a 75 hard challenge, which we kicked off a couple of days ago. And Vernita's with us. What's up, Sean? Good to see you. Nathan's here. Good to see you. Chris, good to see you, man. Excited to really excited to grow with you, dude. Really looking forward to this. So the first thing for me that I like to do on my Sundays, right, when it comes to going back to sticking on track with everything I want to do, is I got this little notebook that I carry with me. We got these stickers that I put on my buyer boxes. So I put one on the notebook, and every single day I open up my notebook to what I've written out the night before, because I really like laying out my calendar, my schedule, and putting down the most important things for myself to take care of the following day, the night before. I feel like it gives me a focus. I have something called my non-negotiables, which every single morning before I start doing anything, or really start calling or dialing or returning text messages or whatnot, these are the things that I need to check off no matter what. I get really deep into that in the course of the challenge, as I'm actually working on a workbook that will be a free download that you can work throughout the year, and literally just download a new page for every single day. And it's going to spell it out really clearly. What are the 4 or 5 most important things for you to get done every single day? For me, those 4 things, the first thing is getting into a cold plunge, right? Like for me, this is something that every day that I don't do it, I just feel a little different. Second thing for me, connected to that, is getting a workout in. I've been at the gym every single day this year, whether it's been in a commercial gym and outside of a tent doing push-ups and somewhere in the middle of Israel, whether it's been, whatever it's been, I've worked out every single day this year at least once. And for me, that was a non-negotiable. Another big thing for me to do in the morning was to write down the things that I'm grateful for, to have a perspective, because, every day we wake up and some of us get woken up with stress, and some of us get woken up by kids, and some of us get woken up by, phone calls. And whatever that is, for me, having clarity and perspective for myself in the morning, what is it that I'm actually out here doing? Because sometimes you can just get so caught up in the day to day to where, yes, I'm sleeping, but like I'm sleeping now in order to wake up in 4 hours, in order to do this, and you kind of feel like you're running on autopilot. And when you feel like you're running on autopilot, it's very easy to start subtracting certain things or falling off in certain ways, because there's no real balance when it comes to like keeping you super focused. There's no real way to do that. So by being able to have those things to set yourself up in the morning, right, focused and clear. And then my 4th non-negotiable is dials. Every single day, no matter what, I'm doing outbound traffic. So whether it's calling expires, whether it's calling, most of us here are in real estate, whether it's calling Facebook leads, whether it's reaching out to my past client database, getting in front of or in touch with, it's either 10 people or 150 contacts, one or the other. These days with, text messages and Facebook Messenger and all that other cool stuff, it's a lot easier to hit that number. But I really like to do that over the phone. I feel like the one thing that AI and all those other cool things that people try to sell courses on, won't be replaced, is human connection. Human connection is impossible to replace no matter what. So that being said, getting out there and prospecting and putting myself, I would consider it maybe a little bit in harm's way, depending on how you feel about prospecting, right? But risking it in order to be able to bring home that reward, right? You don't go out and hunt. You're not going to be, there's some hunters on this call right now, right? Some of y'all get out there once a year, bringing that tag home, right? You know what it's like if you don't set yourself up properly and you don't plan your route and know where you're going to be and know where to set up and maybe set up some action, some motion powered cameras or whatever it is to really get it all in, right? Let's grab that for a second, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of heads bobbing yes with me here. So let's do that, okay? Let's pretend right now we're getting ready to hunt. We're setting ourselves up, right? And we're starting to stake little areas. We want to figure out farm areas. We want to figure out, where are we going to be growing our business? Where are we going to become the king of the jungle, the mayor of the town? And then you figure out where you want to be, what you want to do. What do you do afterwards? Usually you go and you look, okay, well, how many transactions are done here, right? Every single month, every single quarter, every single year. When I scope out an area that I want to start growing in, either it's because I get a listing from there and then that automatically becomes, a farming area, or I then, what I'll do is I'll sit in the MLS, I'll look at the transactions, and I'm looking for areas that are 5 to 7% more than where I am currently. So if where I'm doing right now, they're doing 1,000 transactions every quarter, right? Or 300, 200, 400 transactions every single month. I now want to go to an area, maybe 50, 60, 100 more, right? Because a lot of those areas, they have the top performers, the people who are there, the people who are consistently number one. When I first set out to grow my business, I also wanted to be number one. And then I realized that the guy who's pushing himself to be number one is very inconsistent in a lot of things that they do, because they have one focus and one goal, and that's to be number one, right? All the way up there on top. I made it a point before I set out to build my real estate team, right? I'm just coming up on one whole year as a real estate team leader here at my company. And before I set out to do that, I went around and I started doing research of what do all of the top teams have in common, right? And my brokerage and other brokerages, and every brokerage has 1 or 2, 3, maybe 4 themes that every top team has that runs with them. And one of the things that I realized in 2020 and 2021 is that a lot of the common denominators with these really, really big teams is, 1, they all use Zillow, and 2, they had no idea where their next closing was coming from. Literally, they'd wake up in the morning and they would just say, call the database, or go and dial the leads, or go and reach out, or go and do things. And I realized that a lot of people started running their life this way because as a business owner, right, how you show up to your business is how you show up to yourself is how you show up to your business, right? And if you're going to show up in a sense where we're like hunting, right? You're scrounging for the little things. You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to do things without really having a clear plan, right? Or some sort of like real focus in terms of what we're trying to do and how we're trying to like check these things off. It can become very, very stressful, right? And then we start doing things to mitigate stress, and then we start building plans, and then we start doing things to avoid these things, and then we start giving ourselves more reasons for these things that we create. And if we remember for a second and stop forgetting, hey, let's just bring it back to basics, right? When we all got licensed, when we all got set up in this business, and I've only been licensed for 3 years myself. There are some of us who have been licensed a little bit more recently than that, but a lot of the people on these calls and a lot of people on this call, right, have a lot more experience than I do. And they have so much to teach me in terms of what things were like when all you had was a phone book and you had to open up the phone book to a page and you pulled out a page in the phone book and you dialed the whole phone book. But at the same time, now we've sat here, right? And over the last year, I've really taken this system and, try to optimize it to where it's easy and accessible for everybody in many different ways, right? Obviously, I've turned it into a challenge. I've turned it into a book, right? I've done that. But at the same time, I've also tried to set it up in a way where those people who just want to sit and observe from the sidelines and partake in certain things don't feel like, they need to show up to every single thing. On the other hand, a lot of people message me and they go, dude, how do I get results? And then I say, well, do this, 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 and this. And then they go, whoa, that's a lot, right? So these types of calls, the reason why I dedicate an hour before we even talk about the challenge or any of the task, which is usually this call. The reason I do this call is a 1-hour Q&A, because throughout the 6 days that we do the 90K 90 days challenge calls, there's lots of different technical things that I jump into, because running a business in general is extremely technical. And then running a business that's a real estate business is even more technical, because the inventory that we have isn't our own, right? So we can't always control the supply or the suppliers. And sometimes we have all of our ducks in a row, but the other side isn't. Have you ever been on the other side of a transaction where you're like, dude, how do you how do you how are you doing this? Like what show me, and then you end up like really stepping in, and then you realize that, whoa, a lot of these people, like, if only I figured out those one or those two things that I kept, getting stuck on and how to navigate them, then I'd really be able to level up. And I got the biggest compliment last week when I was talking to a member in the team that I had to free up their future, more on our back end virtual staff. And as we were having the conversation, I got a compliment saying, Joe, sometimes I feel like you run like a robot. I was like, yo, that's awesome. That means that I'm always predictable, super consistent, always reliable, and I keep showing up. Like, thank you so much. Is that too much for you to feel like you're doing when you plug into your 9 to 5? Because we don't do this 9 to 5. This is a 24, well, I should say, if there were 28 hours in a day and 400 days in a year, we'd probably fill them all, right? With everything we do. So if there was that more time, right, how do we master that? How do we figure that out? And the answer is in your Sunday afternoon, right around now, with a pen and paper, right? Because this is where we figure out, okay, what are the most important things that I know are happening this week, right? What are the things that no matter what happens, no matter who's calling me, no matter what inspection, what appraisal, what closing is going down, this is a non-negotiable. And that's the first thing that I do in my calendar. They're red boxes, right? So I have 5 colors in my calendar, right? It helps my staff. I have an angel that lives inside my calendar that's responsible for making all of my scheduling and stuff. So in order for all of us to be able to communicate in a way where everybody knows what's going on, big red blocks are non-negotiables, can't move them. The teal color is more for personal development, so like going to the gym, spending time meditating, calling, things like that. Blue are new prospect opportunities, so new appointments or things that I'll do after 11 a.m. because before 11 o'clock in the morning, I don't do any return phone calls to any potential business. I'm only trying to open up new connections. I'm only trying to create new relationships. And I do that from 8 o'clock in the morning, at the very minimum until 10, sometimes until 11. And the idea really is to focus on pushing out, right? Because I can go and I can service referrals and I can service deals that are under contract and I can do inspections and do appraisals and do closings in the afternoon. Matter of fact, it's better for me to do it in the afternoon. Any of the stress or any of the last minute things that I can kill time waiting for instance, a closing package, right? Guaranteed will be delivered by 2 p.m. So if I schedule it for 3, and that's cool. But if I hope that by 1 p.m. it'll be there, not necessarily is it always there. So I end up wasting a lot of time, having a lot of downtime. The green colors in my calendar are for the daily tasks that I do every single day, right? My non-negotiables, like not non-negotiables that, I can't change, but things like, walking my dog, right? Or things like eating or things like working out, like things that, are really part of the day to day. And then blue, we did blue already. And then purple are for things that would require more than one party to get involved. So it's not just something I can check off myself. It's something that I have to reach out to somebody on our team in order for me to be able to get clarity on. But in order just to keep this super simple, right? Most of us aren't running teams just yet. Most of us don't have a bunch of people to stay in touch with, right? Just write it out. Literally just write out what your day is going to look like, an average day this week. What time are you going to get up? What time are you going to be out of bed? Because like I find that if I follow a schedule and I'm consistent, meaning even though this morning, yes, I didn't really have anything to do at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, I technically could have slept in. But what I end up doing is I get up at the same time, I do the same things, and then at 7 o'clock, I'll sit down in front of my computer and I'll be like, hey, you know what? This is something I haven't done in a minute. And then I'll end up finding something to do because what I do throughout the week is whenever I have these ideas that pop to my head that get my focus a little bit off, I put them all on a Google Doc. And I have a bunch of these ideas just sitting there. But at any time, if I do have dead time, I then go back there and I try to expound on an idea. Right now, we're working on the Healthcare Heroes program. That was something that I wanted to bring back. January, February, March are like big months. When people are running all these different ads and specials and whatnot to try to drive, the after holidays sales traffic up. And one of the things that we can do is get back again in front of doctors and nurses and medical staff, because no one's really recognized them this year. Isn't it crazy? How like you sit here and when it was really convenient for people to shout out Healthcare Heroes, everybody had a program and whatnot, but now you don't really see it all that much. These are the things that if we come back with consistency and, we do this on our own, regardless of where the market's doing, we can literally eat up market share. when it comes to this one particular demographic. Any questions so far? Is there anything that I can answer for anybody? Some new people popping in. For those of you just hopping in, drop your city and state where you're from so we can say what's up. Good to see you, Chris. Alex, good to see you too. Justin, killing it with that 75 hard challenge with me. That's awesome. Good to see you here. No questions so far. Okay, sweet. So moving on, moving on along. For me, one of the big things that I made it a real focus to prepare myself for this year was going back and running through all of my numbers. So there's different types of numbers that we sit and compute. Obviously, we have, for those of you who've been following me for a while, I'm a big fan of Glover U. They've really helped me grow my business immensely. And they have their business planner. Matter of fact, my forward on this book was written by Jeff. I thought that was pretty awesome that he agreed to do that. And their business planner really helped me figure out my numbers. Okay. Now, sometimes when you go and you look at numbers, it gets really overwhelming because it's like, dude, I didn't even know I had to track these numbers. Right. And then when you go back and you collect all the numbers, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm like putting out so much. Like there's a lot of output here relative to last year was 800. It was 183 transactions, 808 average contacts per deal. That was those were my numbers for last year. This year, the number's down closer to 450, right? Average output per transaction. And what that ends up doing for me, number one, it freed up my time, right? And number two, it actually helps me like scale more because I now have the ability to reach out to more people, to contact more people, get more deals done with less effort, right? And a big way that I was able to do that was number one, by mapping out my numbers, and number two, recognizing the amount of output and what I have to do in order to actually bring a deal home. Then when I realized what I had to do, I looked and I tracked my the sources of where my deals came from. This year, I've been able to pick up a bunch of listings because last year I did a lot of marketing to potential sellers. So every listing that I picked up, I went and I did something called geofarming, right? And geofarming is where I literally take the geographical area around the one listing that I have, and I do everything that I'd be doing to prospect new buyers in this one specific area. And then at the same time, also use this as a way to prospect potential sellers. And this is things like door knocking, open houses, getting the names, phone numbers, and emails of the people around in the area, reaching out to them, sending mailers, doing events, right? Like literally, I can say that I have 30 listings in one zip code, right? And these 30 listings, all of the people within probably 3 miles of this area know who I am, know what car I drive, and know that 2 weeks ago was my birthday. Every single one of them, right? Because at a certain point, right, I've had these listings on the market for almost like 65 something days. They're all under contract, right? And they keep on like closing. So with each one, we're doing the just sold mailer cards. I'm knocking in the area to let them know that we just sold. I'm knocking in the area to let them know that we have other houses. And then we're dialing. And then now for Christmas, we mailed everybody brownies. So it cost me a couple $100, right, to mail out brownies to these people. But at the same time, I realized that each one of these people, to me, if one brownie cost me $4, right, and one person sent me a buyer lead or a seller lead that's going to make me anywhere from $6,000 to $20,000, it's the best money I've ever spent. So I'm asking you, do you have all of your buyer sources or all of your lead sources, I should say, mapped out? Do you know where every single one of your deals came from? And if you do know where every single one of your deals came from, what are you doing to service those people? What does your follow-up process look like? And I don't like really the term or the word follow-up. I like the term of circling back, because if you're following up, it means that you're just like it's an afterthought. But if you're circling back, it means you're completing a process. You're actually walking them through the circle, right? And some people, you're actively working with them, and some people you're asking them for referrals. But how are we doing these things, and where are all the deals coming from? So I double-ended 25 transactions this year, and 19 of them came from a personal referral. So to me, what does that tell me? That tells me that I need to continue really digging into this database to see how far I can go. So I'm asking myself, what sort of events can I do? By the way, did any of you guys host like live in-person events this year? What events have you hosted? Drop it in the chat. Let everybody know what you did. Curious to see. Okay, nobody just yet. But for now, I actually just found this link. So I shared a financial planner on Facebook. There were like a ton of people who asked for it, which was both exciting and a little concerning. Yeah, I'm not sure if everybody was waiting to map it until somebody was going to give them something, or it was just an idea of perspective. But I just dropped another one here. This one's a little bit more business related, so it's not just how many transactions you got to do and how much money you want to make, but it's more things like your personal expenses and then your business expenses, and it's all like computed in a way where if you fill in all the numbers, you'll have them all broken down for you. And I realized that last year, 50% of the money that I made just about went towards my overhead. And talking about overhead, it wasn't necessarily just business overhead. It was like my living expenses, my car, travel, all those types of things. And, I realized that if I was able to cut down certain expenses and certain things in my life that, I may have thought were necessary, but then at the same time, once the auto pays start hitting and once the checks start cashing, it's kind of like, well, damn, that's a lot of money, right? And once you start realizing that, especially by having clarity, all of that throughout, and I'm going to approve everybody's requests at the end of the call, so you'll get that a little later. But when you go through the process of really breaking down the numbers and understanding where things are coming from, not only does it give you clarity and direction, but it gives you confidence. And in this business, one thing that you really can never like exchange or buy or train enough for is to have confidence to be able to respond, to be able to take action, to be able to do things that other agents in our positions might not necessarily do, right? And confidence comes from practice. Confidence comes from training, which is why we make it a point to set time in our calendar at the very minimum 3 days a week to practice scripts, right? I know David, who's on this call, kills it with outbound dials, right? And he sits and spends a lot of time dialing himself. He's got a fancy ass headset that he wears when he does his dials. And, you're sitting here and you're doing practice. What's up, man? Good to see you. When you do practice of scripts and you do practice of, how you're dialing, what you're saying, what you're doing, it ends up giving you a lot more confidence when you're on the phone, right? Because then you sit and you know what to say when certain situations, right, show themselves. Not necessarily are you going to sit and have like a preloaded, or even myself, when I do dials, I'm always trying to listen, to what the seller or the potential buyer is telling me, right? Without actually like thinking about what I'm going to say, just processing, hey, what personality type are they? And what are they actually showing me? Are they showing you, because when I'm talking to a buyer, I'm looking to find intent. I'm looking to find urgency, and I'm looking to find a why. I'm looking to find a reason as to why right now is a great time to make a move. So if I don't know that this is what I need to uncover from talking to a potential buyer, then I can have a 45-minute conversation about their grandmother, then check that off as having a good conversation today. Maybe if you worked for Zappos, that would be considered a great conversation, because Zappos has a customer policy to where until the client is done talking to you on the phone, you don't hang up. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, Zappos actually gave out an award to one of their call center representatives who was on the phone for almost 6.5 hours with a woman who called in just to talk about her husband dying. And, she called in and they just had a conversation. It was a really, really big thing with them, right? Because they're all into the caring about the people. I also care about the people, but at the same time, I also care about everything that brings me to the people. Because if you're anything like me, at a certain point, I hate people. I'm out. I'm done. I can't deal with it. It's just like, okay, I'm good, right? It's one of the reasons I have two phones. I have a business phone and a personal phone, because I just need the space. So this all goes back, right, to focus on the original thing that we started here with which was controlling and managing your time, right? Sooner you have your morning on lock, the sooner you have your time accounted for, the more you'll find yourself just being more productive, right? What does productivity look like for you? If you get an extra hour in the day, what would you do with that 1 hour in the day? I want to see in the chat. Been a little active in the chat. It's awesome. What would having an extra hour in the day look like for you? What would you focus on? Because to me, what I did was, when I realized that if I can use some extra time, dialing or reaching out to more people, I then started auditing my day and going through my day and looking, hey, what are these things that I can start removing from my time that already, so wow, there's a lot of, so more time with your son, more lead generation, dialing, prospecting, expired calls and for sale by owners. Are these always on a call? By the way, most of the calls that we've done on Sunday, these always been on a showing or an inspection or doing something. It's no surprise to me why she is the top producer in her office and, literally done millions of dollars in sales and tons of commercial rental transactions, which, by the way, little secret sauce, if you're looking to generate some real quick big cash, find yourself some like, commercial rental clients. Those leases pay out really, really nicely, especially here in South Florida. By the way, speaking of new lead generation, right, and new places, I'm wondering, maybe you guys can share this with me. Like, obviously now there's a massive explosion of people who are like subscribing to coaches and whatnot that keep saying dial expires, dial for sale by owners, do all of the outbound dialing. Besides for dials, what else are you guys doing for lead generation? Are you optimizing your Facebook profile to where, people who come to your Facebook know what you do, know how to get in touch with you? One of the big things that we'll actually focus on the first 7 days of the 90K is really like dialing up your social media presence, because social media presence is cool, but social media that actually converts and turns into referrals and turns into clients is even better. Like, right now 60% of my business comes from social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. Oh wow, Justin, you're on the same page as me. That's what's up. Justin's got 70% of his business coming from that. Well, here's what we're going to do this year. This year we're going to double that, and we're going to double that because we're going to get in touch with more people, right? So I'm actually, Justin, I'm going to borrow your Facebook profile real quick, because if 70% of your business is coming from that, then let's go and take a look what's going on there.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
What's up, man?
Hey, yeah. So what I do is a lot of Facebook Marketplace, not specifically the Facebook, but the Facebook Marketplace setting that's there. I post houses, get permission from other agents to do it, and people easily message you like, "Hey, is this available?" I say, "Yes, it's available," and I try to show them ASAP or get them pre-approved.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, check this out, dude. Justin's got a seriously optimized profile here. So he's got company. Okay, so one thing we're going to do is we're going to go from 2.2 to 5. Because if we can put 5,000, imagine you had 5,000 friends that you're connected with that are all in your area. You're in Edinburgh, Texas, right? Which is like very popular area, as you can see. You have a very strong dialed in demographic. A lot of people know what you do and support what you do, which is awesome. And then another thing that you're doing here is you're sharing a very like healthy mix between real estate, your life, what you're doing, and then your people. So people can really see this, and people have what to interact with, and people have, what to engage with. Now, something that I would do even more now. Now you're already on Facebook Marketplace. What about getting into more Facebook groups? What about like connecting? I know that there's a ton of DFW groups, all different types of real estate groups and investment groups and all that type of stuff. If you're a builder and you're selling and you're a real estate agent, you have like a ton of experience when it comes to answering people's questions, especially people, in your area. Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, that's definitely something I did. I actually got a bunch of new leads because I started building. I would tell people, this is how you build, or help their cousin or someone out, just answer all their questions, how to go to the bank, how to get building finance. And it got me a lot more clients to help them out to either get a resale property or either a new construction that's already built, or either my property. So
That's awesome, man. That's super cool. And really excited to dive into that a little deeper. As we really start on every day, what we're going to do, is we're going to focus on one specific type of avenue for the first 7 days. So we'll do Instagram one day, YouTube one day, Facebook one day. Really just, a lot of different small things that you can do that over the course of time will make a really big difference. I think that also when it comes to recording videos and when it comes to sharing your own content with people, how to and answering questions that, hey, people ask me this all the time, are also really good with driving up engagement. A lot of the views and stuff that I've had on my videos were either answering questions or, back when people were talking about whether it's a good time to buy or sell and what that looks like, answering those types of questions got a super amount of engagement. Now, Justin, you've been talking about pulling in all these leads, right? And connecting with people and building out, different plans with each one of them. I'm curious, for those of you guys who are running a CRM, why don't you drop it in the chat? Let me know which CRM you're working, right? Because right now, I have, over the last couple of months, I switched over to Go High Level, which is a super, intense system, robust for some, but it's really helped me manage all the different pipelines and all the different avenues that we've been running our traffic on. Matter of fact, some of the programs that I've built out for new agents, for people on my team that do onboarding, they're all there. So they're all accessible. KV Core is awesome. KV Core is super cool for like IDX fees and stuff, especially if you're with a brokerage that gives it to you. So that's pretty cool. I played around with it a little bit, but I found it a little hard to set up action plans. I didn't really like the whole hashtag thing and whatnot. So, setting each one and labels, it was very tedious. So Go High Level I like just because you can copy paste, and you can just drag and drop and download and upload and just move things around. So it was kind of fun. But this year I'm committed to bringing all of my marketing and lead generation all over to one platform, because I feel like, sometimes there's just so many logins and so many different things that sometimes it just gets overwhelmed, even for myself, just like managing and tracking and making sure that everything works. So I think Go High Level is the way to go when it comes to building all of that out. And, when it comes to making dials and reaching out to people, one of the big frustrations that I have on my team, is like, Joe, I called 90 leads today once. And I'm like, that's great. It's awesome. And they go, what do you mean? I called 90 leads. And it's like, yeah, you did. But if it's going to take you 500 leads to get one appointment, or it's going to take you $500 to get one confirmed deal, which, now it's becoming a little harder. It used to be like one of every 100 or 6 or 7 of every 100. Now it's like, 5 or 4. And a lot of people have been asking me, what I think about multi-line dialers, using bigger dialers that have 3 or 4 dials. Personally, I'm not a big fan, just because I feel like a lot of those dialers, especially now with how spam works, like a lot of them will just end up going to voicemail. We change our outbound dialer number once every like 60 days, just because, we do come up a lot, especially with the amount of dials that we're doing, it's like spam. So one of the ways to fix that, by the way, for those of y'all who do not have a Google My Business page just yet, one of the things that I will show you how to do is to build out and optimize a Google My Business page, where if you take for a second my name or my number, and you plug that into Google, you'll see how I come up on the first 5 pages of Google, together with a verified business, together with I think it's like 43 or 44 reviews. By the way, if you're already on that page and you found any value in this class so far, why don't you just hop on in there, leave me a 5-star review? It'd be awesome. A peer-to-peer reviews are always amazing and encourages other people who are checking me out to send me a referral that I'm fun to work with. So that'd be epic. And in building something out like that, by connecting the phone numbers that you use for your dials to your Google My Business page, it'll then kind of like authenticate to a certain extent the fact that you're a legitimate business. And then even if you have I know that AT&T or Verizon's got those, they'll pull up all of the data and the information that's available online when you're getting the call for the first time. So my calls come up as the modern day agent. And it's pretty cool because people will answer, they'll be like, who's the modern day agent? I'll be like, what do you mean? It's me. I'm Joe. What's up? Right. And then it gives me something to step off a little bit, because, this is kind of the brand name that we've been pushing, and then it's available everywhere. Now, I know I'm covering a lot of things kind of quickly, but at the same time, I don't really walk into these calls at 5 o'clock on Sundays with any sort of itinerary, if you will. It's more of just kind of like a freestyle in terms of this is what's been going on throughout the week. These are the things that I've been seeing, and these are some of the things that I would look out for, which is why it's always open for Q&A, because we have plenty of time. At 6 o'clock, we do a 15-minute goal planning together with the challenge tasks for the 90K, and then we're done. So, for the next 25 minutes, if anybody has anything specific or something that, you're struggling with, you're not sure how to break down, or something that you'd want my opinion on, feel free to hop on at any time in the chat, because one thing about me that you'll learn is if you point a camera at me and it just goes, I'll keep going. So if, there's anything that specifically that you want to focus on, I'd be very happy to try to answer or help as best as I can. And going back again to, really being focused on your time and being intentional with your time, I never really had time to sit down and give myself the time to write. And last year I decided that I'm going to come back to it. And one of my big things, it's not a non-negotiable, because it's something now that I do, and something that I always find the time to do, especially with, all of the content creation and whatnot. But writing like 350 words for me every day about just random things that flow into my head, I feel keep me creative, and I feel give me more of, the ability to always come up with some sort of caption or something to write. Recently, as I've been, I set this goal for myself to by midway of next year, I want to have 10 books, published, written, and out. And so I only have like 3 more to go. But, the more that I grow and the more that I get into these types of things, the more I realize that, okay, it's fun to just type and write, but I have other things to do. So I've been using this website called rev.com. and this isn't a paid ad because I don't get any credit from them. But what I've been doing is I've been taking these long recordings that I've been recording just as I walk or as I drive or whatever, and I've just been uploading them to rev.com. It transcribes everything for me. And then I can send it to one of the angels. The angels can organize it, can edit it, right? And then can kind of format it in a way where it's a coherent thought that makes sense. And then we take it, copy paste it, and put it into a Google Doc, right? And then whenever there's time to come back to review those things, or if there's something specific that I'm trying to build and create, I can then take all of those transcribed recordings, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and then boom, I have a 200, 300 page book, right? Now, this is something that a lot of people will be annoyed that I'm sharing this formula and this secret because, there are people out there that got book packages. They'll create books for you. And I think that that's a phenomenal way to actually start building clout is by having some sort of downloadable, some sort of shareable. On our team, in about a month from now, everyone that's on our team is going to have a book, a real estate book. They're figuring out names, figuring out content. But I feel like if every person on our team has a book, first of all, what does it say in terms of the authority, of who we are as a real estate team or as an office, that everybody in our office has a published book, right? Because the crazy thing about publishing a book is that once you publish the book and it's available for print and for sale, you never really know who's going to get their hands on it, right? And you can't ever take it back. It's not like one of those digital assets that you can just, delete. So there's a lot of, for me, the publishing the first one took me 4 years to get over that idea of like, okay, I'm actually going to put something out there, right? Because I started writing in 2014. I only really published in 2018. So I realized that a very easy way to get out there is just by taking 10, 20 pages of like your own take on something and making it available. Because if you need any sort of encouragement that that's something that works, go to my Facebook profile and scroll down a little bit. And look, you'll see there's like 300 comments in a post where I'm offering a financial map, right? And it was both concerning and exciting to me, right? Because on the one hand, it's like, wow, I get to share with all these people. And on the other hand, it's like, whoa, where have all these people been till now? But it now gives me access to names, phone numbers, and emails. A lot of those people are real estate agents. A lot of those people are just clients. So if I scroll through all of the emails that have access to it and I look at the one or the two that don't have like a brokerage to the email, and then I send an email to those two people and I say, hey, I noticed you checked out my form. Is there anything else that I can help you with? Here's my phone number if you want to schedule a time. That opens up a new relationship. It's a new contact. And ultimately, that's why we're using all of these platforms. That's why we're doing all of these things. Many people forget that when we're out doing dials, the purpose of dials is to set appointments. The purpose of getting on social media is to create new relationships and open up new opportunities, which then turn into live meetings, which then turn into, hey, let's sign this contract here, here, and here, and don't forget this initial, all the way to closing day. After closing day, business isn't over yet. We still have so much more to do because the average seller lead is supposed to send 2 referrals. I say supposed to because those are the statistics, right? And the average buyer lead should be sending anywhere from 3 to 5 referrals over those next 12 months. And if you're not getting those types of referrals from your clients, well, then, it's not that your clients are shitty clients. It's just that you haven't trained them. You haven't told them what to do. You haven't told them how to get in touch with you. And that's why staying in front of your database and continuously reaching out to them, right, with little pieces of value, right? Not, hey, do you have any referrals for me? I hate those people. You ever seen those scripts where it's like, hey, Joe, it was awesome. I did that home inspection for you like 2 months ago, man. Hey, I thought we were buddies. What happened, dude? Well, first of all, no. And second of all, where you been last 2 months, right? It's like I got these people now, they're sending like these long paragraphs, like, hey man, I thought we were friends and I see you're closing all these deals. You didn't use me. It's like, okay, well, I don't know, man. It was probably something I didn't like, or who knows, maybe not even. Maybe it's just like I didn't remember them, right? Have you ever had that where you called an inspection on an inspector and you just didn't remember the guy that you needed, and some guy was in your email offering you like $100 off, and you were able to like pass it along to the client? And it's like, dude, well, listen, you weren't here, right? It's the same exact thing how we are to our clients, right? Whenever I see somebody buy a house without me, I go back to like my follow-up process, or my circling back process, if you will. And I look to myself and I see, okay, well, where did we drop off? Because the average person in my database, they're going to get like tapped from us 36 times a year, right? At the minimum, 36 times a year. I do have like an action plan that's 52 touches, but some people find that a little aggressive for potential sellers. Then I laugh when I tell them that I have a 180 step follow-up plan where we're literally reaching out to people 3 to 4 times a day sometimes on some of these campaigns that we did, especially now with everything that's going to be coming with the refinances. So let's talk about how somebody like me is going to be capitalizing on the refinances, because it's going to happen very soon. Everybody knows that, right? Nobody really knows when. And if it doesn't happen, that's cool too. This is just a great plan to be able to capitalize on your people. So when I say capitalize, I don't mean make money necessarily. I mean just secure your space in their head, like that when they are ready to do what they're doing, they're going to reach out to you because you're going to help them, right? A lot of people right now, what are they doing? Well, mortgage brokers, I would say, they're not really sure what they're doing. Buyers agents are confused, and listing agents are scratching their head wondering, hey, why are things not selling, right? Interest rates are going down. Why are things not selling? The answer goes back to the word confidence, right? That big C that we spoke about earlier. There is nobody in the marketplace, maybe specifically in your area or in my area, that's getting out there saying, guys, this is what we need to do now. This is the right thing to do. And this is why I think it's the right thing to do, right? The word I believe, right, is such a powerful statement, especially when you're talking to people who don't know what to believe. Because in today's day and age, people love taking sides. If you don't believe me, just open up your Google and just let the news page run, right? You'll see so many different sides and so many different takes and so many different ideas, right? Go outside wearing a big red hat, right? Guaranteed you'll get some sort of comment from somebody, right? Drive a big truck, you'll get a comment from somebody about kids in Africa, right? Drive a motorcycle, you'll get a comment from somebody how right now it's very dangerous to drive motorcycles. You can't make everybody happy. You're not ice cream. And you know what? Even ice cream, there's lactose intolerant people, right? So you really can't make everybody happy. It don't work, right? So when you focus on really choosing that angle of where you're going to go on your own, you can then build out your follow-ups, and you can then build out the action plan in terms of how you're going to reach out to people. Because once you understand how to communicate to your specific types of clients, right? If I know that 4 of my clients were Jewish clients this year, then I'm going to make it a point to reach out to them before Jewish holidays, right? I'm going to make it a point, if some of my clients were Indian, then before Diwali, I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, I don't really know what you guys do on the holiday, but at the same time, have fun, right? Just hi, right? It's another opportunity to reach out to somebody, just to say hello, just to remind them that you're here if they need anything. A typical phone call shouldn't look like, you asking for referrals. I mean, sometimes, yeah, if you've spoken to somebody for a while, it's like, hey, by the way, is there anybody else that I can help? Totally cool. But instead, I like to frame it as like, hey, do you know anybody else that I should invite to this event who may become a past client or a future client or somebody that I can help, right? There's different ways to ask for referrals. And by having the confidence, knowing that you are the best in your situation, in your area, right, to help these people, gives you the confidence to reach out and say, hey, I need help. So I need your help to help me help other people. How many of us have gotten referrals from past clients this year? And how many did you get? Do you know how many past client referrals you got? I made almost 100 grand just off past client referrals this year. Chris says 2. That's what's up. Do you know what that equaled to commission wise? Because sometimes that's what's up, dude. That's what's up. That's $12,000 you don't have to work for, right? Because like I like to sometimes put price tags to certain things, because sometimes when you actually talk about numbers, it's very unnerving. Especially a lot of my staff, they're in like South and Central America, and the culture over there really doesn't talk about dollars and numbers openly or freely at all. So the first couple of times that we were on these calls and I'm on these onboarding calls, we start talking about numbers, and I noticed everybody like froze up, and I was like, guys, what's up? And it was just a very weird call. But at the same time, for myself, when I put like dollars to dollar ticket items, for me, sometimes it's a lot realer. Like, yo, dude, I know that if I make 100 calls, I make $10,000, then okay, let's do it. That's a fair trade. So, by being able to quantify it that way, especially now, that we're really getting serious about our goals. For some of us, it's like, we need to make this money. And for some of us, it's like, dude, the money that I'm talking about making is just the beginning, right? I don't want to set myself up to have these really big expectations and not make them. Okay, well then don't. Take the dollar, take the amount that we have to figure out. Let's even take the $100,000. Let's take $90,000. Let's break it down. $90,000 is about $8,500, $8,600 a month. Okay. For some of us who like average sales price is $300K, that's what, like 2 closings a month? So that's 1 contract every 14 days. Is there anybody here that's going to tell me right now that it's unrealistic? It's not possible. Because like I like to work off logic, right? I have zero like any sort of real qualifications other than experience. I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a degree. I don't have any sort of formal education. So I can't, like, I look at stats. That's where I get my confidence from. How do I know that rates are going to go down? How do I know that there's going to be an increase of properties on the market? Well, go back 4 years ago and look what happened 4 months before the election. Go 4 years before that. Go 4 years before that, right? It climbs, it climbs, it climbs. There's a squeeze, right? There's this big difference that happens, and then boom, everything sort of magically kind of almost figures itself out just enough to get us through an election, and then boom, everything goes chaotic again. It's a cycle. So the sooner that you figure that out and what that looks like for yourself or what that looks like for you, right? What's then going to end up happening is you're like every action that you're doing and everything that you plan to do, it's almost fact-based. And since it's going to be almost fact-based, it's going to allow you to logically explain to yourself why it makes sense to do it. Now, here's the problem. If you're anything like me, right, you may suffer from this thing called top producer syndrome, right? Now, as someone who's single in Miami, right, I have a lot of friends who hit me up and they want to go out, right? They want to just go walk around, meet people. And, the first couple of times I walked around with them and I noticed that when it came time to actually walk up and say hello or meet somebody or connect with somebody anywhere at any time, even in a networking event, right? So many times you sit in your head and you'll think to yourself, you know what? I think it'd just be cool if I got their business card because then I can hit them up and then we met already. So then maybe we can figure out some sort of way to work together, right? That's not going to work because people like me are out here at these networking events, building real raw relationships with people, right? Saying hello, right? Actually shaking a hand, locking eyes, right? Connecting. And then afterwards building a relationship. Real estate is an all contact sport in every single angle. And the sooner that we're able to break down these numbers and get real with ourselves in terms of what do I actually have to do in order to hit those 2 contracts every single month, right? And there's going to be some people here that in a month from now, they're still not going to have those 2 contracts. And I don't say that to be an asshole. I say that to be factual. Like a lot of people say that they want to do things and then they just don't end up taking the action to do it just because it's just how our brain is wired. We like the feeling of new beginnings. We like the feeling of opportunity. We love the feeling of excitement of creation and creativity. But when it actually comes to waking up in the morning, at 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's cold outside, whether it's 60 degrees or 30 degrees, depending on where you're living, and you're not feeling, up to it, and you have to go shovel out your car, or you got to go do what you got to do, and, you're just not interested, that's where you differentiate yourself from everybody else. If I would have found 80 different excuses to not go to the gym, I wouldn't look the way I looked, right? I would have lost the weight that I lost, and I would have built myself to where I wanted to go. If I didn't, do the dials and do the calls and push myself out there, then I wouldn't have gotten to where I got to in my business. And that's because I gave myself the permission to think bigger than what I'm used to right now and bigger than what anybody else in my life had given me the permission. The first time I came home back to my mom's house after I got back started in real estate and started up my whole life, I came back with one of those designer little luggage bags, right? And because I like nice things, I realized that in my life, I'm not going to be able to not make money because I've never successfully been able to steal something and not get caught. So my only other option was to go make a bunch of money, right? So when I came back, my mom had looked at that bag and she was like, wow, she didn't really recognize what it was, but it looked nice. And she said, it'd be nice to have one. So I set myself a goal, right? That by the next time I'd be able to come home, I'd be able to gift her one for her birthday, right? To me, that was something that, was very small-minded back then a couple of years ago, because now it's kind of like, okay, well, now I want to pay for mortgage, right? Now I want to do this. Now I want to pay the car note. Now I want there's all these different things that as you grow more, you're able to think a little bigger, right? And that's really where and how I tie all these things in, because I think of things like that, and I think of what it would be like if I'd be able to do something like that. And then then it becomes my responsibility, right? Because as that person in my life who wants to do things and wants to better society and wants to contribute, first of all, in my business, how do I contribute? I help people and I save people from working with real estate agents who won't work as hard as me, right? That's a mission. It's a thing. It's something I talk about, which gives me permission to get out there and to prospect and to dial and to be a little aggressive, even if, some people won't necessarily appreciate it. And that's literally because I see it as my responsibility. It's my responsibility to be there to help the people. And this is why when I have everything so calculated and I have everything so figured out, I actually can sit down, and even when I'm not feeling it, I go back to my numbers. And I know that the work and the action that I'm putting in today is going to show itself in 90 days from today. So if I don't do work today and I don't do work tomorrow, then I can't complain when in 3 months from now, my pipeline is empty, I don't have anything going on, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life and why this keeps happening to me. Because my first year in business, I walked out this year right now with like zero business. Literally, I had nothing in the pipeline. My first closing in 2021 was in February 8th, right? It made me $29,000, right? Which made everything kind of worth it, I guess. But at the same time, right, it was like there was a month and a half that I just literally had no business, nothing going on. And if you're like me, if I have no business, then I kind of like would sit and just try to figure out how to get more business. But I didn't have any money to spend on getting more business because I just didn't have it. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's like it's a cycle. So the sooner I was able to get in control of my finances, right, and have 6, 8, 12 months worth of living expenses in the event I needed it, and then figuring out and realizing, you know what, buying my mom that bag would have been awesome, but it would have also been really, really cool had I been able to take that money now and put it towards a mortgage, right? Doing all these types of things to now kind of get a little smarter, because the smarter and the quicker you get there, then you're able to turn around and your foundation is solid. And the more solid your foundation is, the more you're able to be there for other people. I'm posting a video on my reels shortly about being, grateful about having the opportunity to be there as a lighthouse for other people, right? Now, if you ever notice anything about a lighthouses, they're very, 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 very tall, right? And then usually they only have one little light all the way on the top, which is that beacon that flashes. But I always wonder, number one, why does a lighthouse have to be so tall? And number two, what happens with the whole middle of the lighthouse? So if you ever look, the reason why a lighthouse is cylindrical is because, first of all, it's very easy to get up all the way to the top. And second of all, in the event that somebody were to try to come in that didn't belong there, right, it's very easy to kind of see them. It's very easy to look down, right, and protect yourself. And then having that big light up there, right, super tall up, was really able to go for miles in any direction. But in order for that light to be there, there always had to be somebody that make sure that that light didn't go out. And in the event that they did hear a horn from a ship that needed guidance or something to get to where they had to go, they had to be there. They had to be paying attention. They had to be focused. If they were to go up to that lighthouse and then they were to play the radio, it would defeat the entire purpose. Some of us, myself included, certain points throughout our business, throughout our day, we're there doing the things, but we're not doing the thing the way the thing could maybe be done a little better, right? And this is maybe a little bit more intense for, like, agents who've been in this business for maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years, to where we've gotten comfortable with like the way that we do things. And everything that we've done is just, this is just the way that it's done, and this is just how it is. What do those things look like for you, right? And what are things that you can do to really change it up this year, right? Coming here, everybody's got a goal. Everybody wants to hit something, and 40% of the real estate agents that were in this business in the last 2 years are not going to be here. Still the same amount of people, which means there's still the same amount of transactions that are going to go down, which means that there are going to be some agents, some offices who are just going to eat up a lot more market share because they're going to be working with more people. And then there's going to be other offices that are going to be losing market share and working with less people. What is going to be that differentiator? What is really going to be there, right? And honestly, sometimes it's really hard to have this figured out from every single angle. It is, if you're not sure what you're doing. But if you have it all planned and mapped out, right, and you know the things that you have to do, then once you get a little too busy, a little too overwhelmed, that's when it becomes time to start delegating, which is something that we cover 65 days into the challenge, because that's usually when you're doing so much that now you have to start finding other people, right? And this is my favorite thing that I love about being able to do this, right? It's not like I have to become somebody I'm not in order to run a challenge like this, because frankly, I've been doing this every single month since I got licensed. See, because I made that like $29,000. And then 2 weeks after that, I made another 18, right? And then a month after that, I made another 50. So that put me right over that. And that was my first 3: November, December, January, February, March, right? So February, March, April, those 90 days is when this really kicked off for me, right? Because you need to have that dry cycle in order to start actually having everything. Because if you're going to start building a database, right, the database won't convert the second you start calling it. The average amount of dials it took last year to have a database call convert was 12 times contacting them, between phone calls, voicemails, text message, emails, and mailers. 12 times. Now take the number and add that to 40%. If you add 40%, it's like almost 16 contacts, 18 contacts. There's a lot of contacts that you have to make in order to get in front of these people. But what if it was only 3 dials and 6 text messages and then 2 emails and then a card in the mail? Makes life a lot simpler, right? Same amount of contacts, but just a lot more intense and a lot more intricate, to where you're not just doing the same dial to do lip service, but getting a card in the mail, getting a brownie in the mail. It's like, okay, that's another hook, right? And then emailing them a video, and then sending them a video, or then following them on Facebook, right? There's all these different things. And that's really how we build this out, to where if you do it once, do it twice, run it for 90 days, it'll usually end up becoming habit, right? In 4 minutes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just break over here right now. Some of y'all got to go. Some of y'all want to stick around for the next 15. From 6 o'clock to 6:15, I'm going to be breaking down the 55-55 system, which is the system that we use to reach out to a bunch of people. As I'm talking here, the modern day money machine is ringing my phone. Let's see if you can see that. This is our modern day money machine. This is my lead generation platform through Go High Level. So it calls me first, then if I don't answer, it continues dialing other agents. And the cool thing is that it actually will only dial once we have a lead, like on standby. So the system will basically call the lead as soon as the form comes in, say, hey, we're gonna, like, kind of like what Zillow does, right? Have any of y'all like been on the Zillow system where, you know, it calls and then there's somebody just waiting for somebody to answer? And usually it's the guy who wants to like buy property for 20 grand or whatever. So, you know, like those types of leads, they'll sit there and wait. So it's the same thing here, where, you know, it calls them right away, says, hang on 1 second, we're locating somebody for you. And then it just, you know, has a 90-second timer on it, to where worst case, it just brings them in, and then it brings them to a system that'll have them schedule, you know, press 1, you know, from 9 to 11, and they'll go in and they'll getting scheduled for dial. So that's that. We'll do the 55-5, and then we'll do this quick system that I have to jumpstart emails again with people. So that'll be that for right now. I'm gonna go run and take care of some things I've been waiting on real quick, grab a drink of water, and I'll be right back.